Hello and welcome back to the Liverpool FC TV channel. And I'd just like to have a big shout out to all my new subscribers. Even though the season's ended, the numbers have really gone up quite considerably. So I'm thanking you one and all. But please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so. And please hit that like button and please post a comment. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I was asked, could I do some videos on past managers? What was it like growing up when certain managers were managing Liverpool Football Club? So here's my first. And today I want to talk about the legend, William Bill Shankly, the canny Scot who came into Liverpool's life in 1959 with a vision to make the club great again. And he believed he could, and by jolly he did. Bill, he'd come through brought up hard way. He'd played football for Preston North End for a number of years. And, he knew his stuff. But when he was cutting his teeth as a manager at lower clubs, he was learning how to coach players. He also worked alongside physiotherapists so he could get a good idea on what was required there. And also the bone structure, the skeleton of the players, so he could actually make sure that they weren't injured too many times with knocks and bumps and bruises. And he took that on. Now, one of the clubs he used to manage, a club called Workington. It's in Cumbria. Not very many people know about it. It's geographically out on a limb, but in the 1950s when he became manager, they're in the 3rd Division North. And they had a tight budget to work to, like he experienced with all these other clubs except when he went to Liverpool. And so Bill used to help the groundsman mow the grass, roll the pitch, clean and sweep the terraces, answer the telephone, and do replies to various enquiries from fans, typing on an old typewriter. 20 years later, I had an allegiance with Workington. I went for a trial to try and start my professional career. And 20 years on, it was no different. They were under a very, very tight budget. In fact, they were running on the smell of an oily rag, to be honest, in the old 4th Division. And in 1977, they actually lost their league status and have never reclaimed it since. So I know what Bill was up against. So what he learned from his managerial careers, one thing for certain was he never got sacked. He always left of his own accord. But when he went to Liverpool, he realised it was a sleeping giant. Yes, they were languishing in the 2nd Division. Yes, they weren't doing very well. Anfield Stadium was in a mess. Melwood training ground needed to be repaired and patched up and rebuilt, to be honest. But he wanted to do that. So he rolled his sleeves up and he got stuck in. In the first full season of being at Liverpool, he moved 24 players on. And he brought in 2 significant players, both fellow Scots. One, the Colossus, Ron Yates, to play in defence. And up front, a good little striker called Ian St John, who stayed with the club quite a number of years. Both of them did. And from that, he always used to instill in his players that they weren't playing for the club or themselves. They were playing for the fans who came through the turnstiles, because they were the people who spent the money, the admission fee, which paid their wages. And Bill really wanted to make it plain that the fans were number one, and they always were. And eventually they loved him and he loved them. So Bill obviously got success. He took them out of the 2nd Division. And in his time with Liverpool, he won 3 league championships, 2 FA Cups and 1 UEFA Cup. So he really did well. And of course, with the more and more money coming into the ground and into the club, he was able to go out and spend money over time. He acquired the signings of Kevin Keegan, Ray Clements and Emlyn Hughes, who all went on to do magnificent work for Liverpool Football Club. Unfortunately, Bill, well, I don't know what was wrong. Come 1974, they just won the FA Cup, but really that season and that cup winning, he was drained. And he had been thinking about retirement, even his wife had mentioned it to him. And lo and behold, 2 months later, shock announcement that he was leaving Liverpool Football Club. Years later, the 7 years he survived before he died, he regretted it. He even said so. He missed football. Football was part of him. He retired too early. And he used to spend time, he went down to Melwood to watch the players train, but eventually Liverpool asked him to stay away because it was unsettling the players and the management. So he spent a lot of time with Everton. He even played table tennis with the Everton groundsman to fill in his time. But then again, he has some great quotes. And talking about Everton, he once said if Everton were playing down the bottom of his garden, he'd close the curtains. So there was that sort of rivalry between the two of them, but in the end, Everton did appreciate him. More so than Liverpool, because they never offered him a directorship after he left. He used to sit in the stand, or mainly stand on the cop with the fans watching the game, because that's what he wanted to do. Anyway, the other big quote he did was, people seem to think that this is about life and death, but football is more important than that. That was the onus on Bill. Anyway, sadly he died in 1981. He must have had a broken heart because he was lost without football. Football needed him and he needed them. And the Liverpool fitted him and the club fitted him. So it was a good match. Anyway, tune in next time for my next video on another past manager. And please, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And please hit that like button. And please post a comment. So for now, take care and I'll speak to you next time. Goodbye.